Are you a fan of pro wrestling, comedy, and combat sports? Then we have the podcast for you because we cover that and much, much more.
Do you like to debate with your friends? Do we have the perfect segment for you? It's the 531, where we take any given subject, break it down to a top 5. From there, we debate it down to 3, and then into that number 1 spot.
If you want to get a hold of us, find us on our social medias. Search Working Fans Podcast on any major social media platform. And if you want to find the podcast, search for us on any major podcast platform, as well as YouTube.
Working Fans Podcast. We put in the work so you don't have to.
Welcome back for Working Fans Presents Horror Business, episode 33. We have just about crossed the finish line on 31 horror movies or more for October. And today we are talking the classic Texas Chainsaw Massacre, directed by Tobe Hooper, came out in 1974, rated R, hour and 23 minutes. It had a $300,000 budget. It grossed $30,859,000 in the US and Canada, and worldwide $30,860,378. Sorry about that. En route to visit their grandfather's grave, which has apparently been ritualistically desecrated, 5 teenagers drive past a slaughterhouse, pick up and quickly drop off a sinister hitchhiker, eat some delicious home-cured meat at a gas station before ending up at the old family home, where they're plunged into a never-ending nightmare as they meet a family of cannibals who more than make up in power tools what they lack in social skills. Major actors in this movie: Marilyn Burns plays Sally, Edwin Neal plays Hitchhiker, Alan Danziger plays Jerry, Paul A. Pertain plays Franklin, William Vale, Kirk, Terry McMinn, Pam, Jin Cedar, Old Man, Gunnar Hansen, Leatherface, John Dugan, Grandfather, John Henry Falk, Storyteller, and John Larroquette is the narrator. Very Hills Have Eyes, House of a Thousand Corpses vibe on this movie. Slightly boring between the big action. I like the grittiness of this movie. It's creepy, it's scary, but I didn't care for it. I know it's a classic, it's intense, but after watching so many horror movies, the ones that are more graphic and more torture-based, I'm not a fan of. This happened to me years ago where I tapped out on horror movies mainly because of the Saw series. They were good, but it's just the torturing people that I fell out of favor with, and it didn't grip me as a viewer. Now, this got an IMDb rating of 7.4 out of 10, and you're going to get those mid-show reads. We are brought to you by the Pro Wrestling Vault Volume 1 and Lance by Chance, written by Vinnie Berry, available at WrestleVille.com. All of the following books you can get on Amazon.com, including Super Vows and Pas de Deux, written by friend of the show, Kevin Kelton. I'll Be Here All Week and All That's Left, written by Ward Anderson, as well as his stand-up special, Blood and Fire, the unbelievable real-life story of wrestling's original Sheik, written by Brian R. Solomon. How Not to Suck at Comedy, written by Pat Oates. Matt Memories, written by John Arezzi and Greg Oliver. If you're an artist in Connecticut or the surrounding area, and looking for studio time, check out the great people over at Connecticut People Records. And if you're on YouTube and looking for entertainment other than the Working Fans Podcast, check out New Heights Wrestling, where Dave and I call some of the greatest independent professional wrestling out there. According to John Larroquette, his payment for doing the opening narration was a joint. Marilyn Burns, whose character was chased by Leatherface through the undergrowth actually cut herself on the branches quite badly, so a lot of the blood on her body and clothes is real. The soundtrack contains no sounds from musical instruments, with the exception of some copyrighted music they had the rights to. Instead, they use sounds an animal would hear inside a slaughterhouse. Director Tobe Hooper claims to have gotten the idea for the film while standing in the hardware section of a crowded store while Christmas shopping. While thinking of a way to get out throughout the crowd, he spotted the chainsaws. According to Edwin Neal, Nubbin/hitchhiker, Texas state troopers actually shook his hand and thanked him for causing crime to drop 18%. Apparently, the message audiences took away from the movie was don't pick up hitchhikers. When it was first released, the film was so horrifying that people actually walked out of a sneak performance preview for it. And I could see that because after a while, I was just like, I'm really good with this. Entertainment Weekly magazine voted it the second scariest horror film after The Exorcist. It was the biggest grossing independent film until The Exorcist as well. Guillermo del Toro became a vegetarian after seeing the film. And the last fact we have for you here today, Terry McMinn was paid $700 for her appearances, Gunnar Hansen $800. Now, thank you for joining us this month for this wild journey. We got one more day for you, and we're keeping that as a surprise. So if you want to keep up to date, like, rate, review, subscribe wherever you can. Hit that notification bell so you know when these videos drop, because Halloween, big day, last day of the month tomorrow. Big surprise video-wise, so keep an eye out on your YouTube, and I will